welcome to this video lecture. And in this lecture I will be discussing previous year's NEET questions, and along with that there will be explanations for every question. Okay, and this is for the chapter breathing and exchange of gases. So this is part 1. There will be subsequent parts later on. And before I begin, I would suggest that you keep a paper and pen handy so that you can note down the options, and along with that also write down the explanations. Okay, so let's begin. Okay, so we have the first question. The figure shows a diagrammatic view of human respiratory system with labels A, B, C and D. Select the option which gives correct identification and main function and or characteristic. And this question, as you can see, appeared in NEET 2013, and you have the diagram in front of you. So let's look at the options. You have A, B, C and D. Okay, and before I explain, I would suggest you pause the video, go through all the options and write down what you think is the right answer. Okay, and then after that you can come back and check what the right answer is and if it matches with your answer or not. Okay, so the first option is C, alveoli. Okay, C, alveoli. And as per the diagram we can see that C points to the alveoli in the lungs, and it is thin walled vascular bag like structures for exchange of gases. Okay, which is correct. The identification and the characteristic, the description is correct. But we'll look at the other options also. So we have option B, which says D, lower end of lungs. Now D does not really point to the lower end of lungs. It points to the diaphragm. So diaphragm pulls it down during inspiration. But this option does not seem correct. Okay. So let's move on to the next option, which is C, A, trachea. So we can see that the letter A points to trachea over here. Okay, but let's look at the characteristic. Long tube supported by complete cartilaginous rings for conducting inspired air. But trachea has incomplete cartilaginous rings and not complete. So this is incorrect. Now we have the last option, B, pleural membrane. We have pleural membrane here, and where is B? B is over here. It points to the pleural membrane, surround ribs on both sides to provide cushion against rubbing. But pleural membrane does not surround the ribs, it surrounds the lungs. So that is incorrect. So again option D is also incorrect. So eventually answer or option A is the correct answer. Okay, so if you've written A, that means your answer is correct. Now let's look at the discussion here. Like I explained earlier, C is called the alveoli. Okay, and it is thin walled vascular bag like structure that is used to exchange gases between lungs and blood vessels. D is called the diaphragm that pulls down during inspiration. A is called trachea, which is a long tube made up of incomplete cartilaginous rings. Okay, please remember it's incomplete. B is called pleural membrane, okay, which is a structure that surrounds the lungs. Okay, so now you can see we've discussed the first question. We'll move on to the second question. Okay, second question, lungs are enclosed in. Now this appeared in AIPMT 1996. This was before NEET was introduced. So this appeared in 1996. Let's look at the options. Okay, so you have the options A, B, C and D. And again I would suggest you pause the video, write down what you think is the right answer, and then we will discuss. Okay, let's look at A, periosteum. B is perichondrium, C is pericardium and D is pleural membrane. Okay, so periosteum is the structure that surrounds bones. And perichondrium is the structure that surrounds the cartilage. Pericardium is the structure that surrounds the cardium, the heart. And pleural membrane is the structure that surrounds the lungs. As we've seen in the previous question, also it was pleural membrane that surrounds the lungs. So the right answer is D. Okay, so if you got D, that means you've got the right answer. Let's look at the discussion. So periosteum is the outer structure of bone. Okay, perichondrium surrounds the cartilage since it's chondrium. This is osteum, so it is related to bone. Chondrium is related to cartilage. Pericardium encloses the pericardium cavity in the heart. And this is the pleural membrane. Okay, it encloses the lungs. There is an outer pleural membrane called the parietal pleural membrane and an inner membrane called the visceral membrane. Okay, and in between the membrane, pleural fluid is present. Okay, so this is it for second question, and we'll move on to the third one. Okay, skin is an accessory organ of respiration in. Now, this appeared in AIPMT 1990. Okay, let's look at what our options are. Again, you can pause the video, write down what you think is the right option, and then we'll discuss. Okay, so skin is an organ of respiration in frog. Okay, this is a fact. The skin is an accessory organ of respiration in frog. Okay, so this is in animal kingdom. If you have studied, or you also when you study frog in detail, you will find this information there. Okay, let's look at the discussion. Lung is the respiratory organ in humans. Lung is the main respiratory organ in frogs, but skin is an accessory respiratory organ. Lung is the respiratory organ in rabbits, and lung is the respiratory organ in lizards. Okay, so if you have our option as frog, then means you've got the right answer. Okay, so this is question number 4. Select the correct events that occur during inspiration. And this question appeared in NEET 2020. It's quite recent, last year. The first is contraction of diaphragm, contraction of external intercostal muscles, pulmonary volume decreases, intrapulmonary pressure increases. So let's look at the options. Okay, again I would suggest that you pause the video and then write down the correct answer. What do you think is the right answer? Okay, select the correct events that occur during inspiration. So contraction of diaphragm, yes, it does occur during inspiration. So that first is the right answer. Contraction of external intercostal muscles also happens during inspiration. So second option, the second part is also correct statement. The third statement states that pulmonary volume decreases. Now, pulmonary volume does not decrease during inspiration, it is the opposite, it increases. And intrapulmonary pressure increases, which is also again incorrect, it is the opposite, intrapulmonary pressure decreases. So, the right answer is A. 1 and 2 are the correct events. Let's look at the discussion here. So, like I stated earlier, diaphragm contracts during inspiration to increase pulmonary volume. External intercostal muscles also contract during inspiration to increase the pulmonary volume. So, pulmonary volume increases during inspiration and hence pulmonary pressure decreases. Okay. And the last statement, intrapulmonary pressure decreases, and this allows the external air to flow from high pressure to low pressure inside the lungs. So if you are familiar with the ideal gas law, PV is equal to nRT, which I believe you will study in physics and chemistry. So pressure is inversely proportional to volume. So inside the lungs, if volume increases, pressure decreases. Okay, always. This is how the system works. If volume increases, pressure decreases. So pulmonary volume increases, and so pulmonary pressure will decrease. Now once the pulmonary pressure inside the lungs decreases, air will move from the atmosphere, which is high pressure, to low pressure. So the atmospheric air, this ATM is atmospheric air, is high pressure, and the lung pressure is lower than the atmospheric pressure. Lung P is lung pressure. Okay, so air will always diffuse from high pressure to a low pressure. Look at it as a slope. High pressure, it will move down to low pressure, like this. Okay, so this is how inspiration happens in the lungs. So I hope this is clear, and then we'll move on to the next question. Okay, so this is the fifth question. Tidal volume and expiratory reserve volume of an athlete is 500 ml and 1000 ml respectively. Okay, what will be his expiratory capacity if the residual volume is 1200 ml? So this appeared in NEET 2019. Okay, so let's look at the options. You have A, B, C, D. Again, pause the video, write down what you think is the right answer, and then we will discuss. Okay, so the right answer is B. So if you've written down B as your right answer, then it is the right answer. Okay, so let's look at the discussion. So expiratory capacity is the total volume of air that can be expired after normal inspiration. Okay, so this will appear in pulmonary volumes and capacities when you study that. Okay, so it is the total volume of air that can be expired after normal inspiration, and the formula is tidal volume plus expiratory reserve volume. So if you remember this formula, you could have just added 500 plus 1000, and then you will get 1500 ml as your answer. Another very easy way is that if you remember this diagram over here, okay, this diagram here. So if you remember this diagram, you can see inspiratory reserve volume, then you have your tidal volume, your expiratory reserve volume, and you have your residual volume. So expiratory capacity is tidal volume plus expiratory reserve volume. Okay, so this makes your life much easier, and you will be able to remember much faster. Okay, so if you just remember this table, this blocks over here, you can solve the questions related to this topic. Okay, cool. So I hope you've understood this, and we will move on to the next question. Select the correct statement. Select the correct statement, appeared in NEET 2019. Let's look at our options before we can decide which is the correct statement. Okay, so again, pause the video, alright, and write down what you think is the right option here. Okay, so A is expiration occurs due to external intercostal muscles. Okay, that I don't think is the right answer, because expiration occurs when the external intercostal muscles are relaxed. So expiration is a passive process. B, intrapulmonary pressure is lower than the atmospheric pressure during inspiration. Yes, I have already explained that previously. So when during inspiration, air in the atmosphere is higher than the pressure. The atmospheric pressure is higher outside than it is in the lungs, and so air moves from high pressure to low pressure. C, inspiration occurs when atmospheric pressure is less than intrapulmonary pressure. When atmospheric pressure, no, that is not possible. Air cannot move in like that. And expiration is initiated due to contraction of diaphragm. Also incorrect. Inspiration occurs due to contraction of diaphragm. So we have B as our correct answer. Okay, let's look at the discussion here. Okay, like I said previously, external intercostal muscles, they relax. Please remember, they relax during expiration. So expiration does not happen due to external intercostal muscles, since it is a passive process. Passive process means there is no energy required. Okay. Second is intrapulmonary pressure is lower than the atmospheric pressure, and hence it allows air to travel from outside into the lungs. That is from high pressure to low pressure. Again, like previously I have explained, if you remember, pressure is always inversely proportional to volume. Okay, inversely proportional to volume. Okay, so during inspiration, the volume inside the lungs will be high. So volume is high, so pressure inside the lungs will be low. This is inside the lungs, and so air will move from high pressure to low pressure. So P atmosphere is always, sorry about that, is always more than pressure inside the lungs. Okay. So, and inspiration occurs when atmospheric pressure is higher than the intrapulmonary pressure, like I've already explained to you. Okay, so this is a very important point, information to remember. Okay, only then you will be able to understand the mechanism of breathing and how it occurs. Okay, cool. I hope you've understood this, and we'll move on to the next question. Oh yes, there's one more. Expiration is a passive process, like I've already stated. So diaphragm relaxes during expiration. Okay, so this I'm sure you all are aware of. Okay, it is important that you remember this part. This pressure is inversely proportional volume. If you remember this, you'll understand the whole mechanism of breathing. Okay, seventh question. Question here in front of us. Match the items given in column 1 with those in column 2 and select the correct option given below. Okay, so you have the column 1 and column 2 in front of you. Let's look at our options. This appeared in NEET 2019. Okay. Okay, so you have A, B, C and D. Again, pause the video and then think about your answer and write down what you think is the right answer. Okay, and let's look at our options now. In option A, we have 3, 2, 1, 4. So A is matched with 3, B is matched with 2, C matched with 1, and D matched with 4. Again, that is actually incorrect. But you know what, before I will give you the right answer, but it will be easier for me to explain it when you have the table in front of you. So the right answer is actually B. And let's look at the discussion here. See, so you have the table in front of you. You have your volumes and capacities. So if you remember these volumes and capacity values, you can easily answer this question. Okay, so you have A, tidal volume, that's 3, which is correct, actually 500 to 550 ml. You have inspiratory reserve volume 1, that's 2500 to 3000 ml, and you have expiratory reserve volume C, 4000 to 1100 ml, and D, residual volume, which is 1100 to 1200 ml. So this is factual based. If you remember the volumes and capacities, you can easily answer this question. Okay, so you have the table. Feel free to note it down if you like, and so that it is easier for you to remember for your exam. Okay, let's move on to the next one. 8. Lungs are made up of air-filled sacs, the alveoli. They do not collapse even after forceful expiration because of. Okay, so this appeared in NEET 2017. Now, let's look at our options A, B, C, D. A is inspiratory reserve volume, B tidal volume, C expiratory reserve volume, and D is residual volume. So even after forceful expiration, now when forceful expiration occurs, that means even expiratory reserve volume does not stay in the lungs. So what happens? There's only residual volume present in the lungs. If you look at inspiratory reserve volume, tidal volume, expiratory reserve volume, all three are not there when after forceful expiration. Okay, remember the table that I showed you previously? So that is very helpful to remember. Okay, and then you can answer these kind of questions here. So D is the right answer. Okay, so D is residual volume. Again, I forgot to mention, but you can pause the video and write down what you think is the right answer. Okay, so residual volume, and yeah, after forceful expiration, the volume of air that remains in the lungs is called residual volume. This prevents the lung from collapsing. Okay, so see, this table over here is very helpful now. Okay, so inspiratory reserve volume is gone, tidal volume is gone, expiratory reserve volume is gone. After forceful expiration, all that you have is residual volume. Okay. Okay, question number 9. Lungs do not collapse between breaths, and some air always remains in the lungs which can never be expelled because. This appeared in 2016. This question. Okay, let's look at our options. Okay, again this is actually a good question. So I would suggest you pause the video and think about it. Okay, think about what the answer could be and then come back to this video and look at the discussion and the right answer. So let's look at option A. There is a negative pressure in the lungs, which is actually incorrect. That is not because the lungs do not collapse between breaths. There is a negative intrapleural pressure pulling at the lungs. Yes, B is the right answer. There is a positive intrapleural pressure, which is incorrect. And pressure in the lungs is higher than the atmospheric pressure. No. So the answer is B. The reason why lungs do not collapse is because there is a negative intrapleural pressure that is pulling at the lung walls. Okay, so let's look at our discussion here. So now a pressure of -4 mm mercury is maintained at the pleural cavity at rest to keep the lungs expanded. Okay, there's always this -4 mm mercury of pressure that is always maintained. Okay, now there is normally a suction force, like a pulling force, okay, like a suction force, which means a slightly negative pressure is maintained. Okay, so because of this suction force, this negative pressure is maintained in that pleural cavity. And why is that? Because there is pumping of fluid from the space by the lymphatic system. Okay, so you have your lungs like this. This is a very, change the diagram. You have lungs like this. This is a very primitive diagram, but I just want to explain. So if you have your pleural membrane over here, like this is your outer and your inner pleural membrane over here. So there is a lymphatic system which is connected to this pleural cavity, and it is always pumping out fluid from here, and this helps in maintaining the suction force. Okay, this is what is actually happening inside your lungs. Okay, so pleural cavity. Okay, pleural cavity here. Okay, and this is maintaining the negative pressure that is there, the -4 mm that I previously mentioned. Okay, now lungs do not collapse due to these factors. Just erase this. First one, after normal expiration, thoracic cavity attains its normal size. Right after normal expiration, air is moved out, thoracic cavity is coming back to its normal size. The lungs continue to decrease in volume due to elastic fibers in the lungs. Okay, now you need to understand the property of elasticity, and you can ask your physics teacher to explain what elastic recoil is. Okay, so when the volume of the lungs are decreasing, but it is continuously decreasing even after thoracic cavity has attained its normal size. Pleural cavity volume increases and hence pressure decreases, which is relatively lower than the lung pressure. Okay, I will explain that in just a minute. So just understand the pleural cavity volume is continuously increasing and hence the pressure decreases, which is relatively lower than the lung pressure. Like I told you, elastic recoil. So the lung is also continuously decreasing in volume. So that is increasing the pleural cavity space. Okay, so what happens? Like I already told you, pressure is inversely proportional to the volume. Okay, so if the volume is increasing, what happens? The pressure is decreasing. Okay, and this pressure in the pleural cavity becomes less than the pressure in the lungs. Okay, and hence the lung push towards the pleural cavity, that is high pressure towards low pressure. Always high pressure will push towards the low pressure and prevents the lungs from collapsing. Therefore, there is always air present in the lungs. Okay, so the lung always remains in an expanded position, and because of that, air is always present inside the lungs even after normal expiration. That is expiratory reserve volume and residual volume. Okay. Now the second, I will explain this in detail in some time, but just understand that this is the reason, and there's another reason why this happens. Now there is a fluid present inside your alveoli. Okay, there is a fluid present inside. Now the surface tension of the fluid present inside the alveoli will try to minimize the surface area of the fluid. Okay, now you must be wondering, what surface tension. Please ask your physics teacher. They will explain what surface tension is, and I believe it's there in your syllabus. So there is fluid present inside the alveoli. Okay, and the surface tension, what it does is it tries to minimize the surface area of the fluid. Now the alveoli contains a surfactant. Okay, there is a liquid called a surfactant present in the alveoli, which reduces the surface tension, due to which the alveoli will remain expanded and not collapse. Okay, so now there is fluid present in the alveoli. Now when that fluid comes in contact with the air, what happens is the surface tension will try to minimize that surface area. Okay, minimize the surface area of the fluid. So what happens? Lungs will begin to collapse, and we can't allow that to happen. Okay, but then we won't be able to breathe. So what happens is there's a surfactant present in the alveoli which minimizes the surface tension. So the lungs remain expanded. The alveoli remains expanded and that allows breathing to happen. So what happens in this case is when there are preterm deliveries of babies, before its time, before the 9 months, there are times where the surfactant is not developed. Okay, that is in the last trimesters when the surfactant starts forming or building up in the alveoli of the fetus. So when that happens and then the baby is out, the baby is not able to breathe. Okay, because of that. So that is why the surfactant is very important to be present in the alveoli. I'm sure when you have studied the structure of the alveoli, there are type 1 and type 2 cells. So type 2 cells, they secrete the surfactant. Okay, and this is why the surfactant is important. But as per this question, let me go back. As per this question, as per the options given below, clearly answer B, option B is the correct answer. So there is negative intrapleural pressure. But I've also given you additional information on how surfactant also helps the lungs to not collapse. Okay. Now, like I've said in the previous slide, that thoracic cavity attains its normal size. I'll just explain it to you a little bit in detail. Okay, so that you have a clear picture of what I'm trying to tell you. Let's see, I'll give you easy diagrams to be able to. You have your thoracic cavity. So the blue line is thoracic cavity. And let's take another color, green. And the green is your lungs. Okay, so just assume this as your lungs and this is the thoracic cavity. Lungs. Thoracic cavity. Okay, so now, and this is your intrapleural cavity. Okay, so now, like I said in the previous slide, the thoracic cavity attains its normal size. Okay, the thoracic cavity has attained its normal size, but the lungs are still moving in. Okay, the lungs are still moving in. Okay, because of elasticity in the lungs. So what happens is the pleural cavity volume is increasing, correct? Volume increasing. Okay, so pressure decreases. Okay, again pressure is inversely proportional to volume. So when volume increases, pressure decreases. And this pressure in the pleural cavity is less than the pressure in the lungs, relatively. Okay, this pressure is less than the pressure in the lungs. Where I told you the lymphatic system is always creating a suction force in the pleural cavity, and so there is a negative intrapleural pressure. Okay, so this pressure in the lungs is more than the pressure in the pleural cavity. Okay, so what happens when pressure is more here and pressure is less here? The lungs will push towards. Okay, lungs will also begin to push towards that because of the high pressure as compared to the pleural cavity pressure, and so lungs remain expanded. This is actually a very good question, so this deserves a smiley face. Okay, I hope it's not a very scary face, but yeah. So this is actually a good question. Okay, so if you remember, if you understand this concept, then you will be able to answer that question very easily. Okay, so this is why I wanted to explain this to you. Okay, I hope you liked it. Okay, so we have question number 10. Which one of the following is a possibility for most of us in regard to breathing by making a conscious effort? This appeared in 2011. Okay, let's look at our options A, B, C and D. Again, like I said, feel free to pause the video, write down your answer, and then we'll look at the correct answer. Okay, we have option A. One can breathe out air totally without oxygen. I don't think that's right. No, you can't breathe out air totally without oxygen. One can breathe out air through eustachian tube by closing both nose and mouth. I don't think that's possible. No, answer B is not possible. Answer C, one can consciously breathe in and breathe out by moving the diaphragm alone without moving the ribs at all. This could be right. Option C could be right. We'll look at option D and then make a decision. The lungs can be made fully empty by forcefully breathing out all air from them, which is not correct. It is impossible. I've already explained it to you previously, so you can go back to the video and see why that's not possible. So, according to this question, option C is the right answer. So, if you've written option C, that means you've got the right answer. We'll look at the discussion. So now I said option C, that means it is consciously possible to breathe using the diaphragm alone. So diaphragm is the chief muscle that is used for breathing. Most of the breathing is happening through the movement or the contraction of the diaphragm. Hence, with conscious effort, it is possible to breathe using diaphragm alone without moving the ribs at all. And it is possible. Okay. And I also believe it is used by yoga practitioners also. So and you can try it out yourself at home. So if you concentrate or focus on only using your diaphragm without using your other muscles, the intercostal muscles, it is possible. Yeah, so now I'm sure you have already researched this. Some of you must have researched this question and you've come up with the eustachian tube is, through the eustachian tube it is possible to breathe, like I've said that is option B, but that is not the right answer. If you thought that option B is the right answer, it is incorrect. It is not possible to do that, and I'll tell you why that's not possible. See, you can see the diagram of the internal ear. Okay, so you have your external ear, you have your middle ear, and you have this internal ear here, and you can see the eustachian tube. Okay, it connects the middle ear to the nasopharynx. Okay, connects the middle ear to the nasopharynx. It's not possible to breathe through it with both your nose and mouth closed. If you close both of them, how is the air going to pass through? It is impossible unless until you have a damaged tympanic membrane, which is not possible, right? So this is incorrect. This option B that was there, the eustachian tube, and if you have, I'm sure you have come across internet sources where they have said that this is possible, but it is not possible. So this is the incorrect answer here. Okay, and I just wanted to explain it to you why, because eustachian tube will be closed on both sides. If you close your nose and mouth, and your middle ear is also closed down by the eardrum, then it is not possible for air to move out in any way. Okay, so by this way it is not possible to breathe. Okay. Okay, so you have question number 11. Listed below are 4 respiratory capacities 1 to 4 and 4 jumbled respiratory volumes of a normal human adult. Okay, which one of the following is the correct matching of 2 capacities and volumes? So you have the respiratory capacities and you have the corresponding volumes over here, and they are jumbled up. So you need to find the correct option. Okay. Again, this is a very direct question. Okay, and you have a very direct answer. This appeared in 2010. Okay, and you have your A, B, C, D options. Again, feel free to pause. If you remember the tables I've showed you previously about pulmonary volumes and capacities, then you can answer this question very easily. Okay, again, feel free to pause the video and write down what you think is the right answer, and then I'll show you the right answer. So the right answer is C. Okay, C. 4 is inspiratory capacity, which is 3500 ml, and residual volume, which is 1200 ml. Okay, again we'll go to the discussion and look at the table. See, So you have your volumes and you have your capacities, and if you remember these, you can answer the question. Okay, what is the vital capacity of our lungs? Let's look at our options. This question appeared in the year 2009. What is the vital capacity of our lungs? Option A, inspiratory reserve volume plus expiratory reserve volume. No, that is not the right answer. B, total lung capacity minus residual volume. That could be the right answer, yes. Inspiratory reserve volume plus tidal volume. No. Total lung capacity minus expiratory reserve volume. Okay. So B, like I said, B is the right answer. Total lung capacity minus residual volume. Again, if you remember the table, the blocks that I showed you, let's look at the discussion. Yeah. So if you remember this diagram, like I told you, it is a very simple diagram and it is very informative. If you want, you can write it down, copy it down somewhere in your notebook and remember it. Remember this and remember the table for pulmonary volumes and capacities. If you remember this, you can answer all the questions related to this topic. And it's a very favorite question, a very favorite topic, and it keeps appearing in the NEET exams from time to time. So if you remember this, you can answer the questions. Okay, so this is it for today for part 1, and I hope you've enjoyed this video lecture, and I hope you've learned something from it. So don't forget to like, share and subscribe to MJ NEET Biology, and I will see you in the next video. Okay, bye.